I'm Holly with Stella Mari's Quilts. Welcome to our series on 50 blocks for 50 states as we continue along with the designs from this book. Check out the description box below for more information about that, as well as information about the pattern that we've written with step-by-step instructions for the block that we're working on today. For today, we are working on the block for Nebraska, so go ahead and grab your cup of tea and let's get started. For the Nebraska block, we're going to need one 3.5-inch square. We're going to need 10 2.5-inch squares of our light and two 10.5-inch squares of our dark. We're going to use those to make some half square triangles. We're going to need 4 2 by 3.5-inch rectangles of our light, and then we're going to need 4 of the same for our medium, as well as then 8 2-inch squares of our dark. We're also going to need some 1-inch strips of all of our light, dark, and medium fabrics. We'll go ahead and get started by making our flying geese units. To do that, we're going to use our medium rectangles here, as well as our 2-inch squares of our dark. We'll draw a line from corner to corner on the back of our squares. And then we will line that up with one side. Going from the corner to the center, we'll stitch on the drawn line. Once we've sewn it on the drawn line, we'll go ahead and press it back and we'll trim away any excess fabric. We'll give ourselves about a 1/4 inch away from the seam. You can do that with your rotary cutter or with scissors, whichever you prefer. Then we'll take another 2-inch square and we'll put it on the opposite side, and we'll repeat the process. We'll sew on the drawn line, we'll press it back, we'll trim away the excess. And here are our completed 4 flying geese units. Next, we're going to put together a strip set using 1-inch strips by 14, and we're going to arrange our medium, then our dark, then our light, just like that. We'll sew these together in one strip unit, and then we will cut apart the sections that we need. Now that the strip unit has been sewn together and pressed, and I did press my seams open, I find that when working with such small pieces, it's more accurate if I press them open versus to the side. I'm going to go ahead and just straighten out one edge here. And then I'm going to cut the size sections that I need. I'm going to straighten out that edge. And we're going to cut this into 3.5-inch sections. While I'm cutting, I'm checking the lines on my ruler to make sure that they're nice and straight with the lines of the seam. There's 4 3.5-inch units. And then we're going to go ahead and assemble the side units for the block. To do that, we're going to take our flying geese, our strip unit, and then our 2 by 3.5-inch light, and we'll just go ahead and sew those together. And here's our completed unit that's going to be on the sides. So now let's start working on the corner units. To start, we're going to make half square triangles. Each corner is going to need 5 half square triangles. So we're going to go ahead and draw a line on the back from corner to corner of our lights here, and these are 2.5-inch squares. We'll pair each one up with a dark, and then we will sew on both sides of that drawn line. We'll cut apart at the center here, and we'll square these to 2 inches. So I went ahead and chain pieced all of my squares together like this. So I've got all the stitching going down one side and then back the other, and they're all connected in a wonderful little chain here. So I'll go ahead and just trim these apart. And then I can use my ruler and I can cut them apart in the middle here. And then we have our half square triangles. These need to be squared to 2 inches. So if you have a clearly perfect slotted trimmer, you can use that, which is what I'm going to use. Or if you have a block lock, you can use that, whichever squaring tool works best for you. So for the clearly perfect slotted trimmer, I'm going to line up their dotted line here with my stitch line. And there's not a whole lot of excess fabric here to trim off. I actually tried to make my 1/4 inch seams a little bit of a scant 1/4 inch, just because I knew it was going to be pretty close. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim the notches. And there's my half square triangle. Because we're still working with small pieces here, I am going to press my seams open when I go to press. You don't have to, you can press to the side, but the smaller the pieces are, the more that pressing to one side can distort the finished size of your unit. So just a preference that I have on this size of a unit. Normally I press to the dark side. Once I've got all of those done, we're going to go ahead and move on to another strip unit. We're going to do 2 strip units. We're going to do a unit using 1 inch by 25 inches. We're going to have a light, a dark, and a light. We'll put together that strip unit. And we're also going to need another strip unit that is 2 darks and a light. And this is going to be 1 by 17 inch strips. So I'll go ahead and finish squaring all of my half square triangles, and I'm going to sew together my strip units. Now that we have our 2 strip sets sewn together, we're going to go ahead and do some subcuts. On the dark, light, dark strip set, we need to subcut this into 16 1-inch sections. So I'm going to go ahead and just line this up on my mat here. Make sure that this edge is nice and straight. And then I'm just going to subcut 1-inch sections. While I'm doing this, I'm making sure that the lines of my ruler are nice and straight with the seam. Okay. Then we need to subcut our light, dark, light strip. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to make sure we have a nice straight edge to start from. We need 8 2-inch sections and 8 1-inch sections. And again, I'm just making sure that it's nice and straight. Okay, now we're going to take 2 of our dark light darks and 1 of our light dark light, and we're going to put them together, making a 9 patch. We're going to do that to all of these pieces so that we end up with 8 9 patches. Time to lay out our corner units. So we're going to take 2 9 patches, put them diagonally. Then we'll take our bar blocks and put them kind of wrapping around. And then we will use our 5 of our half square triangles. All of them will be going in the same direction. With the dark coming down. All 4 of our corner units are going to look exactly like this. So I'm going to go ahead and take these to the sewing machine and get those units put together. And this is what our corner units look like. So now it's time to lay out the block. So put these out in the corners. And we're just rotating them around in all 4 directions. And then we're going to put our 3.5 inch square in the center. And we'll put in our side units. Just like that. We'll go ahead and sew this together, sewing each of the rows and then sewing the rows together, just like any 9 patch. And here's the completed Nebraska block. Thank you for joining me today working on the block for Nebraska. This was a lot of fun with all the tiny piecing. Some of these finished measurements are only 1/2 inch, so really small. A couple tips: remember that if you press your seams open, it'll help keep the sizing more accurate as we go along. Not as critical with large pieces, but with these really small units, it can really make a difference in the size of your finished unit. But take your time, enjoy the process. I hope you continue journeying through all 50 states with us, and you join us next time. Until then, cheers and happy quilting.